Hey everyone, Tyre Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's been a crazy day yesterday. Issues at work, issues at home, issues on multiple fronts, including this one. Technical issues in particular, but we're good, man. We're gonna be all right now. We finally got it all put together. But in the meantime, definitely need the help. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Trying to find a way to get into a rhythm and stay there. And then trying to improve upon that. That being said, looking at the current situation, though, we need to be on the lookout over here in Florida for a good chunk of the morning still because the potential for tornadoes still exists. There's a tornado watch still around the Central Peninsula. There's been 4 tornadoes actually since late this evening. There's been tornadoes on camera. If I had the opportunity, I would have live streamed it, but unfortunately, I still got to work on my end. Plenty of rain going on towards my area too, so it's going to be a tough work day. But as a whole here, we have to be extra watchful over towards this region and over towards the Midwest today because when we look at the day one outlook here, we have a slight risk here. All hazards are possible, particularly becoming more concerned about tornadoes near the low pressure center that's going to be popping up over here this afternoon. There's a 5% area over there. Then, of course, over here towards Florida, 5% area. The 5% area in Florida in particular has to do with a tropical low that was associated over here a few days earlier. And what ended up happening is that low kind of dissipated, but the convection has spread outward as it's continued to trek off to the east as it's become associated with this front here. And this front that's going to be forming along with this low pressure center that's going to be here is going to create enough spin to where we have the potential for all modes of severe weather here today, and then even tomorrow we need to be on the lookout over here towards the Ohio Valley. But tornadoes aren't the only threat. We also have the wind threat for both of these areas and then the hail threat for the Midwest here. Go to our day 2 outlook. We're currently at a marginal risk right now, 2%, 5% on all hazards across the region, particularly focused across Iowa here, but starting to spread into Missouri and parts of Illinois as well, a pretty large chunk of it actually. So pretty much from Des Moines all the way over towards Springfield, Illinois, even starting to reach the Illinois-Indiana line. St. Louis involved too, as well as Jefferson City. Be on the lookout for the chance of severe weather. There is a chance that this ends up getting upgraded as well, and this is going to be a very unique little cold core setup that comes into play here too. It is that time of year where we're starting to get a nice little change between the air masses, and as a result, we can get these cold core type setups. This kinematics are definitely going to be the main thing. Thermodynamics or stuff like cape temperature may not be impressive for what you would consider to be a textbook setup. That being said, go ahead and stretch over to day 3 here. We do have a chance of maybe some coastal severe weather, maybe over towards the Carolina coast, but chances aren't very high. Not going to put too much merit into that right now. Short on time, so I'm going to make this quick. But this is a look at what our 500 millibar height map is showing here. This is towards the mid levels of the atmosphere. Been talking about the trough that's been associated here, and here is the mid-level jet associated along with that trough. And you can see as time goes on, that low will deepen throughout the day, and then into tomorrow this is going to end up surging off to the east, and on the fringe of that we could get some severe storms with all hazards possible. Not enough confidence yet to put a high risk to that, slight risk to that. We're definitely not getting high risk. Cold core setups are just weird like that. Oops. But that being said here, we can look at the same thing at 700 and really 850. A lot of this will translate. So this is what we're looking like for this afternoon. A lot of interest towards central Nebraska here, and then also Kansas will be a secondary area to watch as these storms will end up forming on the dry line and then the frontal boundary itself. As time goes on, we'll continue to watch this push off to the east here, and right on the fringe of this axis around the low pressure, that's where we're likely to see new storms pop off there as well. And then that's going to be Friday afternoon. By Saturday, this little bit of energy is converging with some of the energy from this low pressure, and I think that's where our chance for severe will exist across the Carolina coast here. And this will end up probably being a thing early Saturday afternoon, I would say, from the looks of it here. Of course, we have to make sure that we keep checking back in on that because, of course, as we all know, the weather loves to change very quickly. So next thing to look at is the 850 region. So like I said, pretty much a similar deal. There's a pocket right here in particular early in the day where I'm concerned about the chance of a few supercells having the chance to emerge here. Really more so in the early afternoon, if anything else. I'm not really trying to get into any soundings right now. Time's too short. But it's going to be pretty much a similar deal as we head into Friday. I'm thinking maybe a little bit more of a squall line is likely. Very messy convective mode seems likely as well, but the cold core setup still has plenty of potential to produce all hazards. Like I said, I think it'll be an earlier afternoon type event as well, along with today, but we could also see some storms persist later into the evening as we look into Friday over towards Indiana and Illinois. So watch that move off to the east, and then soon, like I said, the threat for probably some water spouts that'll end up moving on shore across the Carolina coast might come into play here. We'll see how things play out with that. As far as moisture returns are concerned, that's going to be a key factor, as well as temperature. I'll show you an example of what we're likely going to see with that colder core setup. Towards the surface, the temperatures often will end up being a little bit cooler. Kind of see almost a little bit of a zipper effect going on where we have that frontal boundary and that low. So right around this time is where I would expect things to really start to go off here towards this region. It's not going to be a lot of instability. We might actually be a little bit behind it here, but nonetheless, here's that little front beginning to really show itself here on the temp map. And then as we go into the day tomorrow, here's the little counterclockwise spin. That's our low pressure. And then we can watch this move off to the east and just out ahead of it, and just more so to the southeast of it. It's gonna, I think that's where we're gonna see the best chances for severe weather. Thinking that we may see this area push off to the east a little bit more, but there's a lot of uncertainty with that as well. Cold core setups are very tricky at times, like I've said before. And then as we look towards the weekend here, we get some decent warmth over here on the Carolina coast with the kinematics in play and temperatures, dew points. This could end up being sufficient enough for severe storms. Here's our moisture nose or moisture tongue, whichever one you want to call it. It's fine by me. So here's our setup for today. Heading into tomorrow, we see that moisture be more than sufficient enough, which is pretty impressive for a cold core setup. Usually I'm seeing dew points towards like the mid 50s, sometimes the 60s with cold cores. We have a decent little moisture return with this, so there's a decent bit of merit with this setup here. I do think there's, like I said before, I do think there's potential for this to be a slight risk, but we'll have to see how things continue to progress from that point. Good moisture return for Saturday in particular, so I'm actually interested to see how they continue to progress with that day in the Storm Prediction Center. So last things to look at here, we'll look at our instability here. This is our Mixler Cape. This is going to be the inhibiting factor for pretty much Friday, well, today and Friday really at this point. So lack of instability. Cold core setups, you don't expect as much instability. It's definitely more high shear, low cape type events. This is pretty much no different. So as time goes on, we go to Saturday, we see a decent bit of cape try to build up here, but I think it's pretty much going to be a similar deal. So for the most part, my concern at that point would be more so just a couple of scattered pockets where we could see severe storms, not so much an outbreak at this time. So if there's any good news to be had, there you go. Another big issue that we have with both the setup for today and tomorrow is inhibition is going to be another big question. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and actually look at that really quickly. And from what I see here, we got a fair amount, particularly towards Kansas, the inhibition really starts to pick up. Like I said, around that low, there's enough lift to kind of overcome that. But anywhere off to the south, it's going to be a little bit tougher. And then inhibition is going to be lightest where that low pressure is. It's pretty much a similar deal here. And then because of the convection from that former tropical disturbance here, I don't expect too much in the way of inhibition here. There is a little area that does kind of pop up where we could see a bit of a cap try to emerge off towards South Carolina, but I wouldn't put too much merit in it. With any sort of daytime heating, with the temperatures likely to get into the mid 70s, we might be able to overcome that too. So last but not least, let's go ahead and look at our reflectivity here. This is also with the updraft velocities here. Because of the style of the setup, I wouldn't expect to see too many helicity streaks here. So here's that band of supercells that I'm thinking could occur here that we often see with these low pressure type setups. Notice you don't see too much in the way of helicity streaks. No real surprises there. Eventually we see storms form on the boundary, and then of course we watch this progress off to the east. Okay, and then after that we'll watch this line of storms try to develop on Friday and head on out of here. Then last but not least, we have our setup for Saturday right now. Like I said, mostly thinking that waterspouts coming onto land, eventually turning into or transitioning into tornadoes, will occur, and I think that will be the main severe threat. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed. You found the video useful. If you did, hit that like button, decimate that subscribe button, hit that share button. Till next time, it's been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have an awesome day. Till then, take care.